Is it a monumental act of creation, a grand design born from a singular vision? Or is it a grand delusion, a beautiful, baffling folly etched in 110 tons of rusting steel? Today, we're journeying to the plains of Texas, to Ransom Canyon, to unravel the story of a house that defies easy answers, a house that asks us, what exactly is architecture? This is the steel house, the life's work, some might say obsession, of one Robert Bruno. Bruno wasn't your typical architect. In fact, he had no formal training in it. He was a sculptor, an artist who came to Texas in 1971 to teach architecture. At Texas Tech, much to the surprise of some, given his unconventional background, he was, by all accounts, dreamy, unorthodox, and more interested in the soul of materials than the nuts and bolts of construction. His inspiration wasn't a drafting table, but another massive steel sculpture he'd built, a four-legged behemoth that seemed to guard a cotton field. His daughter Christina recalls him saying he wanted to live in a space that felt like that. And so, in 1973, the drawings began, and in 1974, ground was broken. This wasn't just a project. It was a spiritual practice, a 35-year meditation in steel. Imagine this man, Robert Bruno, working mostly alone. He even engineered his own hydraulic crane to lift him, inch by inch, along the curving, swelling surfaces of his creation. He'd study every weld, every seam, often tearing down sections and rebuilding them. The house weighs more than a Boeing 757. Every pound of it scrap cordon steel he bought and painstakingly shaped. Sparks flying in Ransom Canyon became a local legend. Mio, one father told his son, that's a man building a house made out of steel. Bruno himself said, it would have been a lot easier to have a master plan from the beginning, but it wouldn't have been better, just different, okay? Easy isn't the only thing that matters. This is about spiritual values. The objective was not to move in and have a place to live. I can do that anywhere. The objective was to do something, and something he certainly did. So what did he create? A gravity-defying, rusted, bulbous pot on four legs. It's been called a pachyderm, a spaceship, or as Dallas Morning News critic Mark Lamster put it, the kind of house a James Bond villain might occupy. Inside, an estimated 2,200 square feet, though Bruno would have found the idea of square footage ludicrous. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, but forget right angles. It's all unusual curves. Stained glass windows casting strange light, and rough welds, a remarkable piece of architecture, certainly in a town with few. But is it a home? Le Corbusier famously called a house a machine for living in. Bruno's creation seems to challenge that head-on. Some parts, like the kitchen and bathrooms, were almost bizarrely conventional, finished that way, friends say, only for expediency. Had he lived longer, every sink and cabinet might have received the same handmade care. As the few elegant furniture pieces he did build, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Where does art end and architecture begin? Or must they always be intertwined? Bruno moved into his barely habitable creation in the final months of his life. finally experiencing the space he'd poured his soul into for over 3 decades. He died in 2008, leaving the building to his daughter, Christina. He had plans. You see, plans that never materialized. A library inside one of the legs, walls lined with plaster casts of nude torsos, a smooth counterpoint to the raw steel. These were the whispers of what might have been. Then the saga took another twist. Christina sold the house, she says for $250,000. The local realtor who bought it, part of the Bardish Group, disputes that figure. A month later, it was listed for $1.75 million, then dropped to $1.5 million. Before being taken off the market, the plan, to finish the interior, perhaps not as Bruno envisioned, and turn it into a vacation rental, an Airbnb. This is where the story, for many, becomes heartbreaking. Architecture enthusiasts, Bruno's friends like Peter Flukiger, who hoped to create a foundation for the house, and Henry Martinez, who cared for it for years, are distraught. Martinez said, "Now it's being treated like a motel, and I think that's wrong, ethically wrong." Flukiger lamented, "I cannot imagine he would have someone not educated in architecture or art putting in a curtain for the sake of renting it out." The new owners say they plan to follow Bruno's wishes as much as possible, that renting it will make it accessible, and to be fair, the house needs work to be truly habitable by modern standards. Leaks, unfinished floors, plywood partitions. Bringing it up to code is a daunting task. But can you, or should you, domesticate such a wild, personal statement? Is accessibility worth a potential compromise of artistic integrity? For students of architecture, this is a case study materializing. Before our very eyes, it forces us to ask about stewardship, about legacy. So we return to our question, grand design or grand delusion? Perhaps it's both. It's a testament to an individual's unwavering, quixotic vision, a monumental sculpture you could, theoretically, live inside. It is a spiritual endeavor made, manifest in steel, and yet its practicalities as a conventional home are deeply, profoundly questionable. Perhaps the delusion isn't in Bruno's creation, but in the attempt to neatly categorize it, or to finish it as anything other than what he was slowly, painstakingly coaxing it to become. One thing is certain, thanks to that Corten steel, as artist Jeff McMillan, a Lubbock native, said, after the apocalypse, the Bruno house will still be there. It will stand, a silent, rusting question mark on the Texas landscape. A question about art, architecture, obsession, and what it truly means to create something extraordinary. Something Notdinary. What do you think it is? And more importantly, what do you think its future should hold? That, my friends, is a discussion worth having.